Finding flab around the midsection has just become easier.
Rather than cutting the fat off underneath the skin, the machine actually liquefies the fat.
Find out how the newest technique in outpatient liposuction can put an end to the battle of the bulge. Then, she's a giggly, enthusiastic 14-year-old, but a disease is sapping her strength.
Pulling myself up to like just pull on pants or, you know, my pajamas or whatever was a chore.
See how a breakthrough in medicine is giving Michelle Desmond more endurance and independence. Also, cookie creations you can't miss, and a veg head quiz, all on this edition of Pulse.
Love handles, a pouch, a spare tire. Whatever name we give the excess weight around our midsection, for many of us, it's a constant battle of the bulge. Hi, I'm Amy Carlisle. Welcome to this week's Pulse. For Veronica Millsap, the excess weight was an intrusion that called for a new approach to outpatient liposuction.
It's best for just laying here, supports your neck really well. You can stare at the TV.
The gym, ab rollers, treadmills, sit-ups, Veronica Millsap has tried them all.
If I'm in Mexico and nobody knows me, I wear a two-piece. If I'm in Redding, I usually wear a one-piece with a towel wrapped around my waist.
Golfing, walking, water and snow skiing. At 32 years old, Veronica keeps herself in pretty good shape. So what's the problem?
The ledge, right there.
A relentless struggle with her midsection, a part of her body that's been a trouble spot for years.
And this is my area, and I figure if there's a doctor out there who's trained to do something about it, then I should give him the opportunity.
After 6 years of serious consideration, Veronica decided to get rid of her belly through liposuction.
I don't expect it to change my life. I think it's more for just me.
Since she's relatively slender, except for some localized fat deposits, the one that was most appropriate for her was a liposuction.
Dr. Thomas Stevenson is in charge of plastic and reconstructive surgery at the UC Davis Medical Center. Most patients who come in for cosmetic surgery are looking for ways to look better and feel better about themselves. For Veronica, liposuction offered the chance to remove the fat from the tough-to-lose areas of her abdomen and thighs.
She was young, as you say, and younger people tend to have more elastic skin that can shrink back down and conform to the shape of the underlying structures better. So if you take a lot of fat out, the skin has the potential for shrinking back and looking better.
Hey, get up here, Mom. Come on.
While conventional liposuction is ideal for getting rid of fat in areas such as the thighs where the skin is fairly thin, it can cause blood loss and tends to be rough on patients. A new technique called ultrasound-assisted liposuction will be used to treat her abdomen.
In areas where the skin's a bit thicker or where there's a lot of fibrous tissue, dense tissue that attaches the skin to the underlying structures, ultrasound-assisted liposuction seems to work better.
Although both techniques are effective in removing fat, ultrasound-assisted liposuction tackles fibrous areas with less bleeding and often produces a smoother result. Dr. Stevenson marks the areas that need to be treated.
We make an incision that's about ½ inch long, and in that incision we insert a small plastic protector that guards the surrounding skin against injury.
Dr. Stevenson inserts a tube in Veronica's abdomen. Once he turns on the ultrasound machine, the tip of this tube vibrates 23,000 times a second, liquefying the fat, which is easily suctioned out.
With the ultrasound-assisted liposuction, rather than cutting the fat off underneath the skin, the machine actually liquefies the fat in the various little globules where it's deposited under the skin. Once the fat is liquefied, you can use a different device to suction out the liquefied fat.
After Veronica's stomach gets a size reduction, Dr. Stevenson switches to conventional liposuction to work on her thighs. 90 minutes later, Veronica's new sculptured body is complete.
I think she's doing real well. And she seems to be reasonably comfortable. She's active. She's got a good attitude about the procedure. I think she's pleased with the early results, and she's hopeful and confident as far as the long-term results are concerned.
After a couple days rest, a few sore spots and bruises, Veronica is already back on her feet.
I'm pretty movied out right now, actually. Every day I did some form of activity because I couldn't just sit all day long.
It will take up to 3 months for all of Veronica's swelling to go down, but after just 1 week, she's already noticed a difference.
I kind of thought that the results would be a little faster. You know, everybody wants a procedure done and then you want the results by the end of the first week. And it's going to take a little while, but it's already flatter. I can already tell that it's a lot flatter.
Although it will still be a while before Veronica can see her final results, the biggest change so far hasn't been in dress size, but in attitude toward herself, her eating habits, and her ab roller.
No, I'm actually going to use it to work out with. I'm very happy with the results. Well, I wouldn't do it again because I'm not ever going to get to that point where I have to, but I would definitely suggest it. I feel great. I mean, I feel like I'm ready to go back to work. I'm ready to get on with the rest of my life now.
It'll take about 3 months for Veronica to see complete results, but so far she's happy with her new figure. Pulse will be right back. Dan is here with today's health tip, and I hear you have some little cookie monsters at your house.
Yeah, and we got a big one, too. But you eat enough of those things, the fat, the calories, they add up. So we were looking for some low-fat cookies that tasted good, and I think we found them. Cookies and milk. This is one of my favorite treats, but when I do indulge, I know I'm racking up some serious calories, also some serious fat. We want to change that today, and to help us do that, Diane Heisen. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Dan.
Diane is a research dietitian at UC Davis, and what have you got in store for us?
Today we're going to take a couple of old favorites, oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, make them lower in calories, lower in fat, add a little bit of nutrition to them. And we also have a seasonal cookie, a pumpkin cookie.
Well, let me put this one down and let's get to work.
All right. Here, you want to be the stirrer?
Sure.
I'll show you. Let's start with the oatmeal chocolate chip.
Okay, well, the recipe's right on here, right?
Well, we've made a few changes to that one. We've lowered the fat. What we've done is, when you start out with this recipe, you start with margarine. And what I've done is substitute half of the margarine with applesauce.
Ooh, that's a
in
trick.
fact, some of the recipes call for butter. And we've actually made it a little lower in saturated fat by having margarine in there instead. So we're going to cream that with the sugar. And you can also, in most recipes, you can reduce the sugar by half, which is what I've done here.
Okay. Now, you can also completely substitute the applesauce for the margarine if you like, but the cookies then will be a little bit softer, and you'll have to bake them a little bit longer because it's the oils that make the cookies more crisp.
And next we're going to add, the recipe calls for eggs and a bit of milk, so I've added skim milk in here, and I've substituted one of the eggs with egg whites. So we'll add that in, and that reduces the cholesterol for people who are watching their cholesterol.
If you want to eliminate even more cholesterol, each whole egg can be replaced with 2 egg whites.
And the next part of the recipe asks for, usually cookies call for white flour, and I've done a few little sneaky things in here. There's some whole wheat flour I've snuck in. I've added some wheat germ, which will increase the fiber and the vitamin E, and we're going to throw that in.
So you mean these are going to actually be healthy for us,
These are going to be healthy for us. And the last thing is, this calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is mix in half chocolate chips and half raisins to make that really reduces the nice flavor in there still. And
perfect.
There's one problem with this technique.
And that is?
You still have an open pack of chocolate chips.
You know what happens in my house, yeah.
I don't know, but those are pretty enticing,
well.
so make sure, save those for the next batch of cookies.
Yeah, sure.
Put those in there.
Drop the dough by rounded teaspoonfuls onto an ungreased cookie sheet, and then bake it for 10 to 12 minutes at 350 degrees. Well, Diane, while those are in the oven, let's get on with round 2.
Let's do the pumpkin. We
Okay.
have pumpkin cookies here. I thought this was kind of nice for in season. We're starting with canned pumpkin. We've replaced half our margarine again with applesauce.
Always
so we're going to throw
thinking.
that in there.
Okay.
Mix it around. And then we also have eggs in here. In this recipe calls for eggs, and again I've substituted one of the yolks for egg whites.
Okay.
You can start mixing that.
Mix
and
this
add the
up,
other.
okay.
This recipe calls for sugar, and again I've reduced the sugar.
Just white sugar, no brown sugar?
Just white sugar in this one.
Okay.
This is a mixture of whole wheat flour and wheat germ. I always speak that wheat germ in there.
Always get that in there, don't you? Thinking healthy.
Add that vitamin E and B vitamins and a little bit of fiber in there. It's a very simple recipe.
That's it?
And that's it.
Are you going to spoon these out pretty much
We're
the
going to
same
spoon
way?
these out, and now these are very moist, so they will take a little longer to cook. I mean, these were 20 minutes in my oven cooking, so you want to check them, and you'll be able to tell when they get firm. If you can check with a spatula and see if you can lift them up.
Well, I can take it from here.
All set. I've got the milk, Dan.
Oh, perfect. I've got the cookies. A plate for me and a plate plate for you. That's that serving size you kept talking about.
Thanks, Dad. Look at the difference here.
What'd you say, 2 cookies?
2 cookies is the serving size.
I thought you said 2 dozen,
Yeah,
sorry.
I can see that.
And how much fat and calories in these?
These are, 2 of these will be 130 calories compared to the original 190. And we've reduced the fat in both of these to under 30%.
See, that's
So
perfect.
you can enjoy more.
Well, I
I don't know
gotta
about
give it
2
the
dozen,
ultimate
but
test. Fresh out of the oven, these are great.
aren't they nice? A little softer than the regular, a little crispy on the outside, though.
And the pumpkin ones?
Almost as good as pumpkin pie.
The Cookie Monster's got a lot of company on something like this. These are great. Diane Heisen, thanks so much.
Enjoy.
Well, I say you can't go wrong with cookies, especially ones that are low in sugar and fat.
And taste really good, and these did. If you'd like the recipe, get a pen and paper ready because we'll have the address for you a little bit later on.
Thank you, Dan. Changing gears now, you may remember about a year ago we told you the story of Michael Ratto, a little boy who, thanks to modern medicine, has a very bright future.
Okay, here I go. I shot your castle.
When we first introduced you to Michael Ratto a year ago, there were many new things happening in his life. Not only had the 4-year-old begun kindergarten, but he'd also started laser treatments to remove a large birthmark covering one side of his body. The port wine stain wasn't dangerous physically, but the fragile ego of a young boy was at stake.
I've had people at the park tell their kids to stay away from him because they didn't know what it was.
Can we do waters now?
1 year and 10 treatments later, the difference is remarkable. Michael's arms and legs show fading traces of the port wine stain, and the darker areas that remain will benefit from the rapidly changing field of laser technology.
There's a new laser they're using. It feels like ice cubes, and they're only... What?
I think it's better.
And one look at Michael's face tells the whole story.
At News 10.
For most young adults, high school is filled with action-packed days and the hustle and bustle from class to after-school activities. Michelle Desmond's illness forces her to take a slower pace, but it doesn't stop her drive and determination.
Hi, Shannon. Oh my gosh.
Michelle Desmond is a typical 14-year-old.
But I can't help it if I like him.
One of her favorite pastimes, gabbing on the phone to friends about the latest Hollywood heartthrob.
Ooh, it's got Brad Pitt on it. Yay!
Michelle is far from shy. In fact, the complete opposite, she's outgoing and enthusiastic, a regular social butterfly.
I love the stage. I love it. I'm such a ham. I like to be in plays, and I like to hang out with my friends.
But what isn't typical about Michelle is the condition that limits her activities. A neuromuscular disorder called congenital myasthenia gravis hampers her strength and prevents her from keeping up with her friends. She relies on a wheelchair when she becomes too weak to walk.
My brain was saying, work, work. My muscles are saying, no, I just can't. And it's very frustrating. And you know,
You twist it, turn it?
You just do it like a
Like a bun, okay.
Yeah.
The disorder can affect any muscle in the body. It can be life-threatening if it affects her respiratory muscles. Michelle lives in Los Angeles, but constant weakness brought her to the UC Davis Medical Center, where doctors there might be able to shed some light on her condition.
She was increasingly dependent on a wheelchair to get around, not able to partake in sort of those pre-adolescent activities and feel that sense of increasing independence. Do you notice a difference in the time of day?
Dr. Constance Bowe is a pediatric neurologist at the UC Davis Medical Center. She explains that there are different forms of congenital myasthenia gravis, and like many relatively uncommon disorders, it's still not completely understood.
Stop.
In the more common adult form of myasthenia gravis, doctors know that the body's immune system attacks certain tissues. But in the congenital form that's affecting Michelle, they've determined that it isn't mediated by the immune system, but rather something has gone awry in the communication between the nerve and the muscle, preventing her from moving her muscles voluntarily. Because Because of this, she has a difficult time doing things that require sustained strength.
That even though she can, for a very transient period of time, bring her arm up or her leg up, to sustain that seems to be her biggest problem.
As the day goes on, I just get tireder and tireder. And it used to be to the point where I would go to bed not really being able to get into my bed pretty much.
Look right at my nose.
Treatment for congenital myasthenia gravis can range from surgery to drug therapy, depending on the type and severity of the disorder. Doctors treated Michelle with drugs, but traditional medications weren't helping her. The decision was made to give Michelle an experimental drug called diaminoparidine, or DAP for short, a drug that would hopefully give her more endurance.
She had a response to it that quite surprised me, happily. She, at that point, was pretty much wheelchair dependent for getting from one place to another, and in the course of this 10-day stay here, while we adjusted the dosage and everything, she was able to go to San Francisco and walk around.
It takes 45 minutes for the DAP to kick in, and we noticed it right there pretty much. I was running around the corridor. Hi, honey.
The DAP works by allowing Michelle to maintain her strength longer. The results for her were indeed gratifying. But as with any medication, it has serious side effects.
Every organ in the body that's dependent upon electrical communication, like the heart and the brain, and even the organs that receive some input, we could be monkeying with them as well by administering this drug.
I think I've about had it.
Doctors closely monitor Michelle to minimize side effects from the drug, and to remain healthy, she has to stay active to prevent her muscles and tendons from shrinking. So far, the health benefits from DAP have been encouraging.
I rely very heavily on the medication because without it, I just don't want to move.
Michelle is thankful the DAP is giving her more stamina and independence, but knows it isn't a cure. Only one medical advance forward in helping her manage her disorder and to be more like an average teen, a role she doesn't have any problem performing.
Sometimes I do think of it as, oh, I don't like this thing. It's really annoying, why can't I be just a normal kid and stuff? And then other times I say to myself, you know what, you are a normal kid. You're as normal as can be. You're an obnoxious 14-year-old.
The UC Davis Medical Center is at the forefront of technology and treatment of myasthenia gravis, and hopefully will someday be able to find a cure. Pulse will be right back. They were good for us. Well, today those claims are backed by science, and to test your veggie knowledge, take our Pulse quiz.
Question number 1. Vegetables should be stored in the refrigerator. True or false? The answer is false. Not all vegetables need to be stored in the refrigerator. Some vegetables, such as onions and potatoes, are best stored in a cool, dark place, such as a paper bag. Others, like tomatoes, should be kept at room temperature since cold temperatures deteriorate their taste and texture. And avocados should ripen at room temperature in a paper bag. Once ripe, they can be stored in the refrigerator. Even when stored under perfect temperature and humidity conditions, most vegetables maintain top quality for only a few days. Question number 2. Vegetables should be washed and cut before storing. True or false? The answer is false. Vegetables should not be washed and cut up before storing. It's best to wash and peel or cut vegetables just before they are cooked or eaten. Cutting initiates an enzyme reaction that can speed up the decay process. Washing vegetables before storing can strip away their natural protection and knock out their nutritional punch, as well as their flavor and crisp texture. Question number 3. Cooking vegetables can destroy nutrients. True or false? The answer is true. Some water-soluble nutrients are destroyed in the cooking process. The good news is it can also release nutrients from fibrous plant walls. Cooking carrots, for example, makes beta-carotene more available. The best way to preserve nutrition and flavor while cooking is to use as little water as possible by steaming or cooking in the microwave. Question number 4. Where vegetables are concerned, fresh is best. True or false? The answer is true. fresh vegetables are best for taste and texture. But when certain vegetables are out of season, canned or frozen produce is a nutritionally sound alternative. In fact, many canned or frozen vegetables contain as much or more of certain nutrients than their fresh counterparts, because they're usually processed immediately after harvest when their nutrient content is at its peak. So while fresh is best, canned or frozen vegetables shouldn't be overlooked. Question number 5. More is better when it comes to vegetables. True or false? The answer is true. Eating 5 or more servings of vegetables is a simple and easy way to improve health. In general, vegetables are full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, nearly everything your body needs to give it energy throughout the day. Vegetables are also low in fat, low in calories and cholesterol, and sodium-free.
Eating 3 to 5 servings of vegetables a day is easier than you might think. For instance, just 1 cup of leafy green vegetables equals 1 serving, or only a half cup of cooked vegetables such as broccoli or squash. Making vegetables a part of every meal is a good idea, not just for a day, but for a lifetime of good health. For Pulse, I'm Amy Carlisle. We'll see you next week.
Pulse is produced by KXTV Channel 10 and the UC Davis Medical Center in Sacramento. Center, 2315 Stockton Boulevard, Sacramento, California, 95817. Or visit our website at pulse.ucdavis.edu.